Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's April 23rd, Tuesday, 2019, and we're still reading the book Baskaya, Born for Love. And I can't believe it. I must have really been tired. Good morning. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Robert. I'm going to mute you because Rob got workman here. I don't want you hearing hammering and banging, okay?
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just go ahead and start. Okay. And believe it or not, I slept in. I just got out of bed. You talk about getting it close. Holy cow. Anyway, I think this is where we left off. The segment that we are on is forgiveness is made easy when we can identify with others and admit to our own imperfections and an equal capacity for wrongdoing. And the first one I'm going to read is on coping. It appears at times that some people get all the breaks while they climb the ladder to happiness and success. We seem stuck on the first rung. It seldom occurs to us that those who succeed are those who are accepting of life's problems. It is good to know that no life is trouble-free and that much of what happens to us is unavoidable and that we cannot always be in control. This is not to say that we should spend our lives putting up with things. I cannot accept the idea that life is something to be endured. Learning to cope is a skill for life, not a way of life. Living fully is a way of life, with loving fully as its most perfect complement. Quote below by Anne Landers. Expect trouble as an inevitable part of life, and when it comes, hold your head high, look it squarely in the eye and say, I will be bigger than you. You cannot defeat me. Very interesting. I thought for a minute there I was going to sneeze. Yeah, kind of strange to wake up at 5 minutes to 9. You got 5 minutes to get ready. That's the first time I've overslept quite that long.
Well, that's okay.
I
You're
guess
your own boss. You don't have to worry about that.
yeah, well, I guess I needed it. but to say the least, anyway. So I'm up so late that my sneezing and my nose haven't started to play with me yet, but it will.
Mhm.
All right, we'll move on to the next one, which is called Love Creates an Us Without Destroying a Me. Maintaining control in a relationship seems to be a driving concern in some individuals. With fiendish gusto, they actively seek out individuals who, for the sake of getting along, allow themselves to be dominated. Their need to assert their autonomy gives way to the path of least resistance. Whether they are too uncertain of themselves or just too weak to resist, they relinquish their individuality. The tragedy here is that the more we allow others to exercise power over us, the more we lose touch with who we are and what we have a right to expect. Once lost, the struggle to regain our person is an uphill one at best, especially when we convince ourselves that it is our lot in life to be submissive to the will of another. No one is given life to willingly relinquish it on command. To do so in the name of love is a complete distortion of the word. Quote below by Nathaniel Brendan. Most of us are taught from an early age to pay for more attention to signals coming from other people than from within. We are encouraged to ignore our own needs and wants and to concentrate on living up to others' expectations. Very interesting. How so, I shall say, many of us in life probably can relate and are very familiar with what has been said.
Sinuses are still driving you crazy, huh?
Well, it is a little bit, not as bad as usual, but again, I just got out of bed, so my sinus is telling my brain, we're not awake yet, but we will be. Give us a little time. Uh, oh, well, who cares? It's just another day. If every day were the same, how boring that would be.
Or would be.
Now and then have to have a somewhat of a little bit of diversity. At least it's warmer here.
Oh, good.
And it's,
Warm up. That's great.
yeah, and it finally decided to stop raining. But it's rained so much that we have to be concerned with the possibility of flooding.
Oh, yeah.
So, haven't even read my email, so I don't know if there's any alerts or not.
Find out the hard way.
There might be a big wave coming, and I don't even know it. Well, what can I say? If it comes, I'll stand out there and watch it go by. All right, the next one. Love isn't the problem. We are. When I hear someone sigh, loving is so difficult, I'm tempted to ask, compared to what? The conflicts we encounter in loving are often simply opportunities which ask for a little extra effort on our part. Perhaps we need to see innocence in another's transgressions and not be so critical of them. Perhaps we need to be silent and listen more often with our hearts. We may find it better making allowances than making points. Perhaps we'd be wiser to overlook weakness rather than playing on them. No one ever said that love was easy, but in the last analysis, it is not the problems that love brings to us, but rather what we bring to love that really matters. And the quote below, Michael D. Uneno, it is sad not to be loved, but is much sadder not to be able to love. Ho, ho, ho. Very interesting. As I read through the book, I can't help but ask the question in my own mind anyway. So much of what we may think may truly be based on the basis of our perception of what love really is and what does it mean to us. Because it occurs to me that in some countries, because I have been in several different countries, that perception of love in one country may not necessarily be the same as the perception of love in another country.
That's true.
It always does kind of remind me, again, a phrase out of the Bible that has, sticks with me all the time, which says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. By definition, then, what does the Word mean to you? Interesting, no?
Yeah. True, though. It's all personal perception.
Yep. Uh, and of course, I guess even within what we're reading here, uh, my individual perception thereof may not be the same as anyone else's out there that I meet or see or know. And because this perception is not the same, in many cases, it's not the question of love, quote unquote, the definition thereof, but our own perception of what we think it might be. Because I do know a few out there, and this is not being derogatory, but I do know a few out there that their perception of love is quote unquote sex. That's not my perception of love, but there are some out there that that's their belief. And if that's not going good, then their love is not going good, which is kind of weird in my head, but then I don't have the same perception as they do. Oh, well.
Christ told us to love one another as he's loved us. We can't even do that. Christians can't even love one another. So.
Well, the one I really like personally is, and I learned this many, many years ago, so many people kind of knock this thing called pride. And yet I honestly believe that if you can't love yourself, then how can you love someone else? I'm one, from my perception, believe that love comes within, not from without. And if you can't love yourself, then how can you expect to have the ability to love someone else? Now, a few people I know would think I lost my mind when I say that because they think that I'm not sure what the word is. I know there's a word for it, but I can't think of it. Egotistical?
Egotistical is what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, if you love yourself, you're just one egotistical SOB, or however they like to put it, which in the real world, that it's just the opposite of what you think. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'm not going to, as they say, I won't shove that onto anybody, but that's what I believe. Anyway, we're starting another segment here. And this one is called On This Earth, There Is No Perfect Love, Only Human Love. Oh, excuse me. Okay, the first one in this segment that I will read is called Love Has No Room for Jealousy. And before I read it, I'm going to say amen. Without even reading it, I'm going to say jealousy has probably killed more relationships than anything else in the world. So, saying that, I will go ahead and read. We should never subscribe to the idea that we are only truly loved when we are loved exclusively. To the contrary, we are all capable of loving any number of people at the same time. Lovers, family, and friends. A person who can only for a single individual usually has a problem with caring in general. Love is not a quality that is diluted when given freely and often. Rather, it is enriched and intensified. To require that someone exist for us alone is an egocentric illusion which should have been left behind in childhood. It is demeaning to be regarded as a thing which can be only possessed and controlled. If we are so insecure in our relationships that they must be constantly protected and guarded, it might be well to call up the little child within us and help him or her to grow up. Absolute control over another person is neither possible, desirable, nor loving. Instead, it destroys what it sets out to protect. Quote below, The Bird by John Barry, the bird of paradise alights only upon the hand that does not grasp. That one's a very good one. For me, anyway. Because I do know, even probably within my family members, that there are some people that seem to think that controlling is the only answer to their survival.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And in AA, alcoholic freaks, as we used to call them, we'd always sometimes remark when a person was sobering up, trying to get off the stuff, we would say, holy cow, is that person one controlling freak? Yeah, I mean, you could really recognize them because they stand out like a bad color in a dark room or something.
Well, most alcoholics are soul free.
Yes, they are. That is an actual fact.
Both with the territory.
And I often wondered why, but then in my particular case, I think it actually stemmed from the fact that probably 8 out of 10 people in my family that I grew up with were alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believed for quite a while that part of that was due from the fact that I learned it from one might call observation. Because I can remember many times telling my mother, quote unquote, don't tell me not to do something when you do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is self-defeating. Why? Because I'm your son and I want to be like you. And that, quote unquote, is very normal. Did I lose you? You disappeared. Well, maybe you'll come back. I don't know what happened, but as they say, maybe you'll come back. Anyway, I'll go on to the next one. Love survives in empathy. Empathy is understanding the other person's point of view. The Judeo-Christian golden rule of treating others as you would like to be treated is an example of empathy. It is a powerful human trait for strengthening our personal relations. Empathy does not mean that we must accept the other's view. It simply means that we are willing to attempt to understand it. We will never be able to do this until we accept that everyone is composed of their own experiences, which are valid for them, even if they are at odds with ours. We cannot expect that everyone will perceive the world in the same way we do. We will truly have empathy when we can step outside of ourselves and attempt to see how things look to other people. Many times I have met disagreeable individuals who, on face value, might have been easily dismissed and forgotten. When I took the time, however, to learn more about them, I almost always emerged with a more acceptance of their behavior. It has taught me to withhold negative snap judgments, knowing how wrong they can often be. When empathy becomes a habit and we are no longer ruled by the passion of the moment, our ability to love will be boundless. Quote by Martin Walsh: "When you look for the good in others, you discover the best in yourself." Very good. They're all very good. Well, for some reason, we lost Sandy, and hope everything's okay on the other end. All right, the next one that I'm going to read is called "Our Hearts Have a Mind of Their Own." The heart is the place where we live our passions. It is frail and easily broken, but wonderfully resilient. There is no point in trying to deceive the heart. It depends upon our honesty for its survival. Often, when we suspect that our hearts may break, we retreat to our own safe havens where we have learned to mask our pain or deny it altogether. There, we pretend to be safe and secure. Struggling with pains of the heart is essential for positive change. Few things of lasting value happen without some conflict. If there is nothing to oppose us, we move from action to complacency, where eventually we discover that the absence of pain is not necessarily the best answer. Quote by G.C. Leitenberg: some people feel with their heads and think with their hearts. Again, quite amazing. When something is read that one could, to some degree, spend a whole day contemplating on the meaning of what's been read. The next one that I will read is called I Will Love You If. There is often heard refrain among lovers. I call it the I will love you if message. This is love offered with specified conditions, and it simply doesn't work. It suggests a bartering or a using of love, or the threat of losing it as a continual possibility. I will love you if you stay home and take care of the house. I will love you if you are successful. I will love you if you agree with me. I will love you if you stay constantly at my side. And on and on and on. It's always difficult to meet these expectations, but they become even more perplexing when love is being used as a leverage. Love should be a given, a constant, and the message must be, I will love you no matter. Don't worry about losing my love. Attempting to redesign another human being is fraught with danger, especially when we threaten to withhold our love as a means of accomplishment or accomplishing it. Quote by George Sand: No human creature can give orders to love. So many words of true wisdom. The next segment that I will read is called Love and the Question of Planning Ahead. If love and life were more predictable, we'd surely have fewer problems. But they'd all be replaced by an unrelenting boredom. We can rejoice then that our world is as unprescribed as it is. We actually know very little about what is going to happen in the next moment. Planning ahead may give us a certain security, but it is also has a decided ring of fertility to it, considering how uncertain everything is. I have a dear friend whose marriage was considered ideal by those who knew her. One day her husband left for work at his usual hour after his favorite breakfast and the habitual loving embrace of parting, but he never came back. About midday, my friend got a call from the Los Angeles County morgue requesting that she come and identify her husband, who had been killed in an auto accident. Years of planning dissolved in one brief phone call. As long as we have life, it will continue to unfold unpredictably. We are wise to go with it, secure in the knowledge that the present moment is ours, and be content to let the future tell its own story. Quote by Simon D. Bonnier: in the face of an obstacle which is impossible to overcome, stubbornness is stupid. So be it that it is said. The next segment is called Love and the Frail Vision of Self. Psychologists and linguists tell us that before we are young adults, it is likely that we will have heard such negative words as stupid, idiot, nuisance, imbecile, obnoxious, all directed towards us over 15,000 times. 15,000 pronouncements of our inadequacies over a period of maybe 17 years can take its toll. Even among the most confident and self-assured, it is no small wonder that many spend a lifetime dealing with feelings of inferiority. A knowledge that words don't make it so, that we are not simply a multitude of inadequacies and faults, that others' evaluations of us may be made in ignorance, can put us on a path to developing a new, healthier, more realistic vision of ourselves from which love is certain to profit. Quote by James Hillman, words, like angels, are powers which have invisible power over us. They are personal pretenses which have whole mythologies and their own guarding blasphemies, creating and annihilating effects. And that is the end of that particular segment. So the next segment that we will be going into is called Love is Constant. It is we who are fickle. Love does not guarantee people betray. Love can always be trusted. People cannot. Okay? Wonderful, wonderful, and more things to consider and think about. So I will go ahead and jump into the very first one of this segment. And the very first one of this segment is called Don't Miss Life While Waiting for Love. We often feel there is something lacking in our experience with love, but we don't know what to do about it. We only know that our bewilderment takes us in directions we don't want to go. We are not even able to identify the unshakable, disturbing feelings we are experiencing, although they seem to be at the core of our very being. We find ourselves the unwitting pawns of the game of love, a game we don't understand. The solution to this dilemma is usually found in action. We need to actively engage in living life with a greater determination than ever before, seeking solutions as much as avoiding the emptiness. We need to show more tenderness, reveal more patience, be more forgiving, and express more gratitude for the things we do have. Positive action has a way of reopening the heart. There is nothing wrong with waiting for love as long as we continue living fully in the process. Quote below is by Anonymous. This is nature's way of keeping everything from happening at once. It seems to me that one without love could write a whole book on how to live life. What does it mean to live life? Okay, the next one is called You Can Love Others Only as Much as You Love Yourself. Most religions of the world command that we love ourselves. The essence of the mundane is that we must be aware of the inherent harmony that exists between the love we feel for others and the love we must, of necessity, feel for ourselves. If we are to love at all, while some say otherwise, self-love is a healthy, necessary, and as long as it is directed outward, is nothing to do with egocentricity. Self-love is founded in the fundamental truth that we are only able to give what we have and teach what we know. The goal is to develop the best possible self, enabling us to share it with others. It is impossible to love others more than we do ourselves. And since our love is limitless, there is limitless hope. Quote by James Lynch, the mandate to love your neighbor as you love yourself is just a normal mandate. It's not just a normal mandate. It's a psychological mandate. Caring is biological. One thing you get from caring for others is you're not lonely. And the more connected you are to life, the healthier you are. And I think we were just discussing that a moment ago, and I would totally agree that one cannot give any more love outwardly than that they have within for themselves. For to love yourself is given unto you the ability to love those outside yourself with just as much compassion and understanding that you give yourself. Well, it looks like we're at the end here. I will put up the book and we'll be back on Thursday, same time, same place, same everything. I hope everybody has a fantastic and marvelous day. I'm going to try to do the same myself. And as always, I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. So as I said, everybody have a great and fantastic day. I thank you all for coming, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.